As we celebrate our 25th anniversary, I'm reminded of a story. I'm reminded of of our first conference, and I was teaching elementary school in Washington Heights. And I was telling the students that I was going to be absent the next day to go to our first conference. And there's a quiet little girl in the front row, and I said, we're going to go to this summer learning conference. And she was shaking her head. And I said, Letitia, what's wrong? And she said very quietly, summer learning, Mr. Boulay, that's evil. and that, I think, really is the story of the last 25 years. The movement in the field from something that is widely perceived as evil, meaning punitive, mandatory, remedial, the type of summer school programs that we grew up with, to what we have now, which is really extraordinary innovation and excellence. So I want to talk just for a moment about inequality in America and the innovation of summer learning programs. This, of course, is a slide that shows the achievement gap growing over the years of elementary school. Our very own Carl Alexander, who I'll speak of more in a moment, really authored the seminal research behind this slide. But a couple of things are striking. The achievement gap widens over the course of elementary school, and it widens during those summer months. So the solid line represents learning during the summer months. The dotted line represents learning during the school year. And the school year learning across socioeconomic strata is more or less equal, meaning lower income kids are learning as much as their more affluent classmates during the school year. But during the summer months, that gap widens, right? We call it an achievement gap. It really should be an opportunity gap because we know that when kids are given the opportunity to learn, that gap narrows and they have tremendous results. Why does this happen? Why is there school year learning and summer loss? Well, Carl again authored this theory that we call the Faucet Theory. And that is that during the school year, the resources are turned on, right? They're flowing. And this is not just books and classroom time, but it's also meals. It's having caring adults with children on a daily basis. It's kids learning from each other, their peers. And during the summer months, of course, that faucet is turned off, right? And so it makes no sense in a country that devotes enormous amounts of time and energy and resources, as we should, to children's learning for 9 months of the year, to turn it off and sort of walk away from that commitment during the summer months. Our work, of course, is turning that faucet back on. We know, for example, that teachers spend 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks reteaching in September and October what they thought kids had learned during the school year. You can't imagine anything more inefficient than that. And this is an important point because when we talk to parents about summer learning, before they get to questions of learning or learning loss, it's really about how do I keep my child safe and cared for during the summer months when I have to continue to work. The beautiful part of this story, of course, is that we know that programs work. That's what you all do. And over the 25 years of our existence, this has been a big breakthrough, documenting the effectiveness of summer programs. This, of course, is the promise, and it's the innovation. We're moving towards the next 25 years. We're moving towards, with that, a new strategic plan. Our vision really is that summer learning becomes a critical, a central part of how we think about raising our children. There's a my parents are getting older, and so I was going with my children through some old photographs. And there's one of me in the 70s as a little boy. You know those old yellow, those photos from the 70s? They're all like yellow, and my hair's all crazy, and my clothes are like stripes and diagonals and all. And I'm standing in this photo on the front seat of the car with my hand on my dad's shoulder as the car's going down the highway. And I'm like, Mom, this is insane, you know. What were you thinking? And she's like, well, things were different back then. This particular, you know, we didn't have car seats for infants. We didn't think to buckle in the kids on like short little trips. And of course, no one would do that now, right? And it's partly because we have laws in place, but it's really because we have shifted our mindset. The culture has changed. It's unthinkable to let a kid stand up in the front seat of a moving car. And that's the future, the vision of the future, that we'll look back in 25 years and think, how did we not provide summer learning opportunities for every kid every summer? What were we thinking as a nation? Mom, that's crazy, you know. That's our vision going forward. We have, really I want to highlight that top point there about systems. There are pockets of excellence in summer learning throughout this program, throughout this country. And we'll have the Summer Learning, the Excellence Awards in just a moment as examples of that high quality. But the pockets of excellence need to grow into systems that are sustained year after year and supported at the local level, at the state level, and the national level. So that summer after summer after summer, programs like yours don't have to fight for resources, wonder if they'll be in existence the next summer or the summer thereafter, but that these systems support us long term. We have a special award. We are giving it to somebody who doesn't know he's receiving it, so hopefully we'll create a little nervousness in the room. Before I say that, I want to pause and thank all of you, because I know that the work you do, the work we do is not easy. My observation is that there's never enough resources for summer learning. There's never enough political support. We know we don't reach every kid we want to reach, and yet the work continues because you persevere year after year or summer after summer. And for that, I just want to recognize your work and thank you for doing that. Our work is really built around research evidence, right? That slide about the widening achievement gap, this field is about the evidence that emerged in the early 1980s around the losses that children incur every summer. In 1981, a then much younger sociologist at Johns Hopkins University began a study to look at school year learning compared to summer learning. And he continued that study not just for 1 or 2 years, which was sort of typical, but for 5 and 6 years, and then eventually 10 and 15 and 20 years. An extraordinary longitudinal study. It forms the basis of our work today. Researchers aren't often recognized for the work they do. Researchers are not often treated as rock stars, but I think they should be. I know that Carl recently saw Bohemian Rhapsody, so there's a little rock star in him. And I want to ask you to join me in celebrating the work of Carl Alexander. Carl, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you all.